The numbers don't lie, and neither does this move. I have spent the last 48 hours dissecting the film and the salary cap sheets, and it is clear that the New Orleans Saints are about to send a massive shockwave through the entire league by targeting a specific dynamic threat. This is the cold, hard truth about the lack of verticality in this offense and why a specific move in free agency isn't just a luxury, but an absolute survival necessity for this franchise as they look to reclaim the NFC South crown. But before we break this down, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and hit that like button. We are trying to hit our goal of 1,000 subscribers, so please support the channel. Now, let's get into the technical heart of this situation, because the news coming out of the scouting department in New Orleans is significant. I am looking at the potential acquisition of Christian Watson from the Green Bay Packers. The reports indicate that the Saints are heavily considering making a play for the 25-year-old wideout during the upcoming free agency period. When I evaluate the current roster structure in New Orleans, I see a glaring hole that has limited the ceiling of Derek Carr and the entire passing attack. We all know that Chris Olave is a superstar in the making. He is a refined route runner with exceptional hands and the ability to win at all three levels of the field. However, the problem I see on tape is that defenses are beginning to cloud his side of the field because they simply do not respect the vertical threat on the opposite side. This is where Christian Watson becomes the ultimate schematic chess piece. I have watched Watson since his days at North Dakota State, and his athletic profile is something you rarely see in the modern NFL. He stands at 6'4" and weighs over 200 pounds, yet he clocked a 40-yard dash in the 4.36 range. That is a rare combination of size and speed that creates a logistical nightmare for defensive coordinators. When I analyze how the Saints want to operate, they need a player who can stretch the field and force safeties to stay deep. Currently, the Saints are relying heavily on smaller speedsters who can be jammed at the line of scrimmage or bullied in contested catch situations. Watson is the physical antithesis of that. He has the frame to high point the ball in the red zone and the pure acceleration to outrun a corner on a go route. I look at the Green Bay Packers situation and it is fascinating. They have an embarrassment of riches at the wide receiver position right now, with Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, and Dontavion Wicks all establishing themselves as reliable targets for Jordan Love. Watson has become somewhat of a luxury item in Green Bay, especially given his recent struggles with soft tissue injuries. This creates a unique market inefficiency that I believe Mickey Loomis is perfectly positioned to exploit. The Saints have never been a team to shy away from talent because of a medical history if the upside is high enough. I remember how they managed the roster during the Drew Brees era, always looking for that one specific trait that could break a game open. Watson provides that trait. If I am the Saints offensive coordinator, I am salivating at the thought of putting Watson on the boundary and Olave in the slot or on the opposite side. You cannot double team both of them. If you keep a safety over the top of Watson to prevent the 70-yard touchdown, Olave is going to carve you up in the intermediate passing game for 10 to 15 yards every single time. It is a mathematical certainty that adding a threat like Watson increases the efficiency of every other player on the field, including the running game. I have noticed that Alvin Kamara is seeing more stacked boxes recently because teams aren't afraid of the deep ball. Adding Watson changes that defensive geometry instantly. I have also been looking at the advanced metrics regarding Derek Carr's deep ball accuracy. Despite what the critics say, Carr is still one of the more accurate vertical passers in the league when he has a target that can actually track the ball and create separation. Watson's catch radius is enormous, which provides a larger margin of error for the quarterback. This move is about more than just one player. It is about the philosophy of the New Orleans offense. They need to get back to being an explosive, high-scoring unit that can win track meets. The NFC South is wide open right now, but you aren't going to win it by playing conservative, ball-control football when your defense is aging. You win it by scoring 30 points a game. I am convinced that the Saints front office realizes their window with some of these veteran defenders is closing, and they need to maximize the offensive output right now. The scouting reports I am reading suggest that the Saints see Watson as a player who hasn't even hit his prime yet. If they can get him into their building and solve the recurring hamstring issues that have plagued him in Wisconsin, they are getting a top-tier talent for a fraction of the cost of a healthy superstar. This is the kind of high-risk, high-reward move that has defined the Loomis era in New Orleans. I see the vision here, and from a purely technical standpoint, it is a masterstroke of roster construction if they can pull it off.
When we transition from the on-field impact to the financial reality of this potential move, things get even more interesting. I have spent years studying the New Orleans Saints' approach to the salary cap, and Mickey Loomis is essentially the Houdini of NFL finance. People look at the Saints being over the cap every year and they assume the team is in trouble, but I see a calculated strategy. By restructuring veteran contracts and pushing dead money into future years, they consistently find ways to add impact talent. For a player like Christian Watson, the contract structure would be the key. Since he is coming off a rookie deal where injuries were a factor, I expect the Saints to offer a contract that is heavy on incentives, but relatively low on the initial cap hit. I can see a 3-year deal with void years added to the end to spread out the signing bonus. This is the technical mechanism that allows the Saints to remain competitive while other teams are forced to rebuild. I am analyzing the cap projections for next season, and the Saints have several levers they can pull. Restructuring Derek Carr's deal alone could clear up over $20 million in space. Then you look at the aging core of the defense. Players like Cameron Jordan and Demario Davis are legends, but their contracts are prime candidates for adjustment. I believe the Saints are prioritizing the offense this offseason because they know they have to help Carr succeed. If Carr doesn't have the weapons to compete with the elite offenses in the NFC, then the entire investment in him is wasted. Bringing in Watson is an insurance policy for the quarterback's career. I also want to touch on the schematic fit within the West Coast system that New Orleans utilizes. This system relies on timing and spacing. Watson's ability to clear out the vertical plane is vital for the timing of the slant and out routes that Olave excels at. I have broken down games where Watson was healthy for the Packers, and the gravitational pull he has on safeties is undeniable. Even when he isn't catching the ball, he is creating space. That is the hidden value of a player with his speed. I am also looking at the impact this has on the younger receivers currently on the Saints roster, like Rashid Shaheed. Shaheed is an incredible find, but he is more of a specialized deep threat. Watson is a complete receiver who can block in the run game and win on third downs. Having both of them on the field at the same time would give the Saints 2 of the fastest players in the league, which is a nightmare for any secondary. I am thinking about the divisional matchup specifically. The Buccaneers and Falcons have invested heavily in their secondaries, but neither team has a cornerback who can physically match up with Watson's size and speed combination over 4 quarters. This move is a direct response to the arms race happening in the NFC South. I have also considered the psychological impact on the locker room. When a team goes out and aggressively pursues a high-profile talent from a winning organization like the Packers, it sends a message that the front office still believes the championship window is open. I have seen how a new explosive playmaker can re-energize a veteran group. The Saints fan base is hungry for a return to the postseason, and this is the kind of move that fills seats and builds momentum. I am closely monitoring the injury reports regarding Watson's recovery. The Saints have a world-class medical and training staff, and I suspect they believe they can implement a preventative program that keeps him on the field for 17 games. If they get a full season out of Christian Watson, we are talking about a 1,000-yard receiver who can double the Saints' explosive play rate. That is the difference between a 9-win season and a 12-win season. I am analyzing the trade market versus free agency as well. While the news suggests free agency, the Saints might even consider a late-round pick swap if the Packers decide to move him before the market opens. Either way, the intent is clear. The New Orleans Saints are no longer content with being a middle-of-the-pack offense. They want to be feared again. I have watched the evolution of the NFL over 4 decades, and the teams that stay relevant are the ones that aren't afraid to take big swings on elite athleticism. Mickey Loomis is preparing to take that swing. In conclusion, the pursuit of Christian Watson represents a pivotal moment for this franchise. It is a move that addresses a critical weakness, maximizes their current quarterback strengths, and shifts the power balance of the division. I will be watching the wire very closely as we approach the offseason, but all signs point to the Saints being the primary aggressors in the Watson sweepstakes. It is a bold plan, a technical necessity, and a move that could define the next 3 years of Saints football. Make sure you stay tuned as this situation develops because the landscape of the NFC is about to change. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video to help us reach our goal. I will see you in the next breakdown as we continue to track every move the Saints make to get back to the top of the mountain.